Hey everybody, welcome back to Magic City Morse. Last time you saw us, we were at Repticon Trustville. So that was a really awesome show and we really hope you enjoyed the video of that. We tried to highlight all the great moments, show you all the great breeders, what they had to offer. We unfortunately didn't get to go to the Show Me Snakes show over there in Gadsden because my entire family got COVID. It started with my husband. He didn't know that he had it. He thought it was a cold. Then Ren got it, and then I got it a couple of days later. So for the last 2-ish weeks, we've been quarantining. We've been making sure that we don't try to go anywhere and expose anybody. But now everybody is better, so we are back to normal. And if there is another show coming up, hopefully we won't get sick and miss that one. I really wanted to go to that one. I heard it was really great. That usually is the best one out here, so maybe next time. This is Raw. He is over a year old. He is our sharp albino male boa constrictor, and he is going to be paired one day with Medusa, our IMG 66% het sharp boa. So we're going to work on some awesome stuff with these guys, and this is going to be probably 3 or 4 years down the road, this pairing, but it will be an exciting one when we get there. Our first boa pairing, as you know, I've talked about it before, is going to be Harley, our hypoharlequin boa constrictor, with our male jungle boa named Ka. So Harley is 3. She just turned 3 in April. She needs to be at least 4 years old, but we may even give her till 5 years old depending on her size. She really needs to be the right size, you guys. We don't want to breed her too small. If you weren't aware, boa constrictors, they actually give live birth. They do not lay eggs like ball pythons. So that is one reason why a pregnancy is a lot harder on the body of a female boa constrictor, because she literally is pregnant with live babies for a while. And to give you an update, a short breeding update, we do not have any females that have laid yet. We actually might have to end up pairing Falcor again with our females, but he has kind of been going on and off food a little bit, so we want to make sure that he's eating consistently. We don't want to stress him out. So this season may be a no-go for us, but that's okay because we can always try again next time. And maybe by next season, Lucian will be ready to breed, and we just have to keep trying. But they still could lay. They could just lay really late. It could be that just things haven't happened yet. So we're going to have to just wait and see. Anyway, we also were talking about with you guys how to start a ball python breeding business. I know this is not a ball python, but I don't usually get him out in videos, so I wanted to get him out instead of a ball python. But we can talk some more about some of those things. I know we went over the broad spectrum of like what you're going to have to consider before you get started. What all are you going to need to get started? You know, what do you need to be thinking about in terms of starting your collection of snakes? Like, where do you need to go when it comes to genetics? What does your budget need to be? Budget is a huge thing. What I want to talk to you about today, and this is very important, and this is something that a lot of people don't really consider or think about, you know, because they're so excited to go ahead and start getting all of their snakes and to build up their inventory or collection, if you will, and they don't think about all of the things that they need to be doing first, all of the things that they need to be investing in before they even have snakes. I'm talking about your rack systems, whether you're going to do a DIY rack, which I mentioned you can do. There's a lot of YouTube videos on that, or getting a professional grade, like ready-made rack that's good to go. Or, you know, what are you going to do about your incubator? You're going to do a DIY incubator. You're going to buy a fancy incubator. What all do you need? You need your heating elements, you know, you need your substrate. You need to have a lot of substrate. You're going to be going through a lot of substrate if you're going to have multiple snakes. I mean, whether you use a rack or actual enclosures. So then, you know, if you're going to have enclosures, if you're going to have some snakes that get on the larger end and you're going to need some enclosures like this behind me, think about that. These enclosures, there's 6 of them. It took a while for us to get them, guys, and they were expensive. And these are just grow out enclosures. These are really only good for when the majority of these guys get to be about 6 to 7 feet long. they're going to need an upgrade. The females will. Some of the males, like raw hair, may be able to live in one of these for a long time, but the females get bigger than the males, so we're going to need upgrades. So you need to think about enclosures. Also, you know, when it comes to ball pythons, you need hatchling size tubs. You need subadult size tubs. You're also going to need certain size tubs for your adults. Your female ball pythons are going to be a lot bigger than your males, so you really, really need to make sure that your adult tubs are the adequate size. Also, when it comes to things like frozen thawed food for your animals, you're going to have to order this in bulk. That's the easiest way and the most money-saving way to do it. Two companies that we often order from are Perfect Prey and Rodent Pro. Depending on which deals or sales are going on with the two, we will order from one or the other. Usually shipping is cheaper a little bit with Perfect Prey, but I have found some good deals with Rodent Pro. So definitely go ahead and start thinking about which online business you're going to be ordering your frozen thawed rodents from, unless you know someone local that has frozen thawed feeders. And you're going to need somebody to get live feeders from, whether you like it or not, because a lot of times hatchlings, when they take their first 2 or 3 meals, they're going to want live. Some people are able to get them on frozen thawed the first or second time, but that's difficult usually. So you have to stimulate the hatchlings to start eating, and usually the best way to do that is to just offer live hopper mice for ball pythons. That's the correct size. Or you can go with a rat pup. So if you have smaller ball python hatchlings, I probably wouldn't go with a rat pup. You might want to go with a pinky rat. So you're going to have to just gauge it when it comes to like the size of your hatchlings. But usually hopper mice or rat pups do good for first meals when it comes to hatchling ball pythons. Also, you really need to start thinking about how many clutches are you going to be able to handle and house at one time and feed at one time. For example, our very first clutch, which started hatching when Ren was born and we came home with her from the hospital, 13 eggs, you guys. That's a lot of ball pythons for one clutch. So every week, every 5 to 6 days, we were needing to get live food for 13 babies. And sometimes pet stores and local rodent breeders will run out, and you will have to be on the hunt for the next live meal for your babies each week. And that was very stressful when that happened. We remembered how sometimes it was so incredibly stressful trying to find live food for our babies. So that's something to consider. You really never know what size your clutch is going to be until it happens. Priya is a very big female, so I knew she was probably going to at least have 10 eggs. She ended up having 13, so that's something that you need to prepare for. Also, your egg number is going to increase if you plan on having more than one clutch hatch at the same time or be laid around the same time. You know, you can time this with your pairing, so you really need to be mindful about that. You need to be smart about it. If you don't think you're going to be able to handle 2, 3, 4, or 5 clutches at one time, or them possibly being laid around the same time and need all of them to go into the incubator and whatnot, probably just stick with starting with one clutch. Get everything down, you know, get your feet in the water, get used to how the process is and make sure you do it right. And then you can later on gravitate towards having multiple clutches either be laid or hatch around at the same time. You know, and like I said in the previous video, be prepared. You know, when you do have hatchlings, you might be having those hatchlings for a while. We just now sold out of our last 2 from clutch number 2, which was last October. So we almost went a year with still having some of those babies. So you have to understand that just because you have babies hatch and you put them on Morph Market, they're not going to be sold right away, not all of them. Another thing I want you guys to think about is when it comes to your customer base, go ahead and make a social media. Go ahead and make a YouTube. Go ahead and make an Instagram, a TikTok. Start promoting your animals. Start promoting yourself. That's what we did. So about a year before we actually had a clutch of eggs on the ground, I was making all these social media accounts and going and following all these other breeders and reptile keepers and influencers, and I was active on social media. I was trying to create a following. That's very important, because then people are going to be excited. They're going to be anticipating your first clutch, and you're already going to have people following you and riding with you on this journey. So that's definitely important. Go ahead and make a social media. Go ahead and make a social media. You may not have any eggs yet, but it doesn't matter. Make a social media as a keeper, as a hobbyist. And then one day, if you do get some eggs and you do get babies, you can actually go from there and go into more of a breeding style. Let's talk about the importance of making sure you get all of these things before you actually start buying your snakes. And when you buy your snakes, I want you to really do your research. Figure out which genes you want to work with, but also which genes are worthwhile. Don't just get a lot of low-end snakes and just breed them, because we have plenty of them, guys. Any reptile show you go to, there's always going to be low-end base morph ball pythons, normals. We want to get away from producing so many of those, because a lot of those snakes unfortunately get left behind and people don't buy them, and they're really going after, say, a boa like this versus a normal boa that doesn't have as bright of colors or as pretty of a pattern. So make sure when you're picking your snakes, you're going to go for things that will sell. Blue-eyed Lucies hold their value. Pieds hold their value. Anything with clown in it holds value. Desert Ghost is a really pretty one. There's a lot of different recessives that will hold their value, and you can build on those projects, whether you want to start out with het parents or have one or both parents be visual. And like I said in the last video, if you do invest in visuals over heads, your odds are going to be much better. You're going to get more visual recessives than not. With hets, it's kind of up in the air. For example, our last clutch number 2, out of 8 eggs, we only got 1 clown combo. Both of those parents were 100% het clowns. So you see how bad the odds were there. Every other snake was either a firefly or a pastel. We had 1 pastel male and the rest were fireflies. So you kind of have to think about it that way, guys. You have to make sure that when you're buying your snakes and you're getting ready to start putting this thing together, that where you're spending your money and how you're spending your money makes sense for your projects. But yes, buy your snakes last, guys. Don't, go get your enclosures, get your racks, get everything you need. Go build up a stash of substrate, build up a stash of frozen thawed feeders, okay? Then actually start shopping for your snakes. And on Morph Market, let me say this, majority of our customer base is local. Morph Market has a feature where you can actually go on there and search in your state. You can find snake or reptile breeders in your state. That is how a lot of people have found us. I still encourage you to get a Morph Market account, even if you only have 1 or 2 snakes for sale. Go ahead and get that account. Go ahead and get a free account. And then later on, you can upgrade your membership if you do end up having more listings. That is a great way for people to find you and learn about you. And also the social media thing, like I said earlier, make sure you're going and you're making your social media accounts. Everything else will come later, but you really need to get the word out there. You really need to get your personality out there. You need to show people who you are. So hopefully next time I see you guys, there will be a little bit more to talk about on the breeding front. You never know, we could still get eggs this season, but it's okay if we don't, because we're small scale breeders and we are not as concerned with profit as maybe some other people are. We do this because we enjoy it. Sure, we make money off of the snakes we sell, but the majority of it is going right back into the animals, because we need to maintain these animals, feed these animals, give them what they need. We still have a lot of money to make back on a lot of the equipment and things that we've bought. Our racks and our enclosures have been the most expensive, along with a lot of the snakes we've purchased. So that's something to keep in mind too. Your first year, you're pretty much going to be trying to make back all of that money that you spent. So you can start out a lot cheaper, and you can do DIY racks, DIY incubator, and get some het snakes. You can do it that way, but if you do it the way we did and you go all in and you spend money on what you need, the payoff will be later. It will be much later, but it will be there. You'll start to make your money back if you do everything the right way, and you'll be okay. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you enjoyed seeing Raw. Let's get a little close-up here of him. I don't really think he likes the light very much. I had a lot of fun at Repticon. I'm really excited to go to the next show, whenever that will be. I think it may be in December, so I may have to wait a little bit, but that's okay. There will always be a reptile show to go to. Next time, we're going to get a little bit deeper into the genetics of ball pythons. We're going to recommend to you some projects if you already don't have things in mind that you might want to be working on. We'll see you guys next time.